What is up, ladies and gentle nerds? It's your boy Graham, also known as HamHawks42 on the internet, and today is a surprise day one of Zendikar spoilers. So I had a couple of cards that I wanted to look at, or possibly throw out some more random stuff, and then Wizards of the Coast was like, "Hey, HamHawks, I'm sorry, you're not allowed to continue the Overthinking MTG podcast quite in the way that you want because we have some Planeswalkers that you need to talk about." So Zendikar Rising is going to be coming out next month, and we weren't expecting spoilers to drop for another week or so, and then they surprised us today with reveals for two spoiler reveals for anyway. I'm getting tongue tied, but let's just get into it, ladies and gentlemen. So first off, I want to talk about Nahiri, Heir of the Ancients. She is a planeswalker who is 2 red-white. Legendary Nahiri with +1, create a 1/1 white core warrior creature token. Then you may attach an equipment you control to it. So any one equipment, you just get to lock right onto it. That's pretty fantastic. -2, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a warrior or equipment card from among them and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. That's right, we have warrior synergies apparently in Zendikar. That's a tribe that we've seen around for a while, but it hasn't had a lot of support, minus say Najila, the Blade Blossom. Other than that, there's very little, if any, support for the warrior class, and so that's something that we have here, which is kind of cool. I'm interested to see how they flesh that out with the rest of Zendikar. Anyway, let's continue. Nahiri also has the -3, so the kind of the equivalent of the ult is the -3, which she can do the moment she comes down because she starts with 4 loyalty. And Nahiri, Heir of the Ancients, deals damage to target creature or planeswalker equal to twice the number of equipment you control. So she is clearly incentivizing you to play equipment. There's a lot there. So we all love equipment. I mean, it's super duper fun, and she's in Boros colors, and that's exactly what they want to be doing. So if you're like me, the very, very first thing you think of when you read that you can attach an equipment to a creature as part of a loyalty ability, you think of Colossus Hammer. Colossus Hammer is a classic card. It costs 1 to drop. Equipped creature gets +10/+10 and loses flying, but the equip cost is 8. So being able to bypass equip costs, this is like number one first thing that comes to mind. Unfortunately, the last time this was printed was an M20, so it's going to be rotating out of standard. So we won't be able to play Colossus Hammer alongside Nahiri, Heir of the Ancients, unless they're going to be reprinting it in Zendikar Rising, which, who knows. With Nahiri, I would be shocked if they don't include a fair number of enchantments, or a fair number of equipment, rather, as a part of the core set. I mean, there's no way you print the equipment planeswalker and then not surround her with equipment. So I think this is pretty solid. It's a rock solid 4-drop equipment heavy commander, and it really benefits. The one thing is the +1, the creature that you get, you can only attach 1 equipment to, and so that's something to keep in mind as you're building it. I feel like that's really where a lot of the value is going to come in, being able to bypass those equip costs. So there are a couple of cards a couple other ones that I want to call out. Well, for one, we're definitely going to be keeping an eye on the Zendikar spoilers because I have no doubt there are some crazy synergies in there. And there's Colossus Hammer, as previously mentioned. There's also Sunforger, which was recently reprinted in Double Masters. It's a classic enchantment. I keep saying enchantment. Sorry, equipment. A classic equipment that comes down for 3. It equips for 3, and equipped creature gets +4/+0, but that's not the part you care about. You can pay 1 red, 1 white, unattached Sunforger. Search your library for a red or white instant card with converted mana cost 4 or less, and cast that card without paying its mana cost. Then shuffle your library. So with Nahiri, Heir of the Ancients, and Sunforger in play, you can get any instant out of your library once per turn for 2. And that's any instant that costs 4 or less. So that's a lot. There's a lot of great stuff. And so all of a sudden in Boros, if you're already running a deck that's running Sunforger, Nahiri, Heir of the Ancients is a slam dunk home run selection. Because what you can do is, on turn 3 you play Sunforger, on turn 4 you play Nahiri, Heir of the Ancients, create the 1/1 token, equip Sunforger to it, so come turn 5, and that's assuming you don't have any ramp in the earlier turns. Yeah, at Arcane Signet, or well, anyway, you can add a number of different ramp packages to make this even faster, but you get that going, and all of a sudden, by turn 5, at the absolute latest, you can be firing off Sunforger like once per turn for 2 mana. So that's almost nothing. Like for the value you're getting, that's fantastic. So I think Nahiri it has a cool home. Not to mention there's also cards like the Cauldron Cycle, which all have very heavy equip costs. That cost 4 or 5 to equip. And so being able to bypass that. So the one example is the Sword of Cauldron that gives a creature +5/+5, and then whenever the creature deals damage to a creature, remove that creature from the game. So you just straight up exile a creature every time it deals damage. It's like ultra death touch. So that's fantastic. Yeah, I think Nahiri, Heir of the Ancients is a very good card. It's not like slam dunk. It's not gonna shatter the world unless there are some crazy synergies in Zendikar Rising. But this is kind of a signpost that there's going to be a lot of equipment coming, and that's really cool. I enjoy playing with equipment. I think it's a lot of fun. So all in all, I think Nahiri is a very solid Planeswalker. Additionally, I want to point out she's a 4-drop that starts with 4 loyalty, and she doesn't really have a big ultimate ability on her. I feel like this is an indicator of they're starting to power down some cards, which I can imagine is going to infuriate some people because they've been expecting a certain power level. However, I'm very grateful to see that. I'm glad that the mythics are not quite the huge splashy bombs that they have been in recent sets in the past. My hope is that that's an indicator that this power creep that we've all been dealing with and have had to kind of slog our way through is going to slow down. We've got a lot of work to do to get to a place where the game can be truly healthy and diverse. However, if they're printing this power level throughout Zendikar Rising, I think what we're going to see is we're going to see the Teamer Clover decks basically just run over standard because nothing is as powerful as that. However, well, and Uro, of course. But with a couple of strategic bannings, it would be possible, if the card pool is of a lower power level, to get to a place where things stabilize and we see 5 or 6 tier 1 decks. That sounds almost like a pipe dream given how dominant individual decks have been recently, but I feel like we could get there if this is what they're printing. So I'm delighted. I enjoy Nahiri. Now there's another Planeswalker that they spoiled as well, and that is Jace, Mirror Mage. Now, Jace Mirror Mage is another 4 loyalty Planeswalker that comes down for 3. Now, okay, I know what you're thinking. 3 mana Planeswalker. Warning, warning, warning. But I don't think that's an issue here, actually. So, Jace Mirror Mage, 3 mana. It's 1 blue, and it has Kicker 2. So wait a minute, is it a 3-drop Planeswalker or a 5-drop Planeswalker? Well, it's both, and let's see what you get. When Jace Mirror Mage enters the battlefield, if Jace was kicked, create a token that's a copy of Jace Mirror Mage, except it's not legendary and has a starting loyalty of 1. So that's really freaking cool. So you get potentially, so if you play it for 3, you get just one version of this guy. If you play it for 5, you get 2. And so with that, what do you get? +1, scry 2. That's awesome. I think that as a plus ability is awesome. Now, the one thing, it's card neutral. So compared to cards like Narset that allows you to draw extra cards, that is kind of an issue. Like you're not getting that benefit. But there's a second loyalty ability. And what's that loyalty ability? That loyalty ability is 0. Draw a card and reveal it. Then remove a number of loyalty counters equal to that card's converted mana cost from Jace Mirror Mage. And so you know what this is? This is a Planeswalker Serum Visions. That's what we're seeing here. Or perhaps Preordain, or whatever the fixed version of Serum Visions is. But I'm using Serum Visions as the example because I like it, dang it. So why do I say that this card is like Serum Visions? Because Serum Visions is a sorcery where you draw a card and you scry 2. So with Jace Mirror Mage, what you get is if you kick it, it comes in for 5 mana. You get a Planeswalker that has 4 loyalty on it. You uptick the 4 loyalty version so that you scry 2. You look at the top 2 cards of your library. If one of those is a card you want, put it on top. And then use the token copy. Use the 0 ability of the token Jace. And so then you draw the card, you reveal it, show the whole table what it is, and then you remove counters equal to that card. So if the card has a mana cost that's anything above 1, the token copy would die immediately upon using that ability, in which case all it does is draw a card because you kicked it. And so drawing a card for 2 mana after scrying 2 and having a Planeswalker on board that is going to consistently ensure decent draws throughout the rest of the game, I feel like that's fair. And that's really solid. Now, here's the greatest part about it, though. With that token copy, if the card that you draw off the top is a land, its converted mana cost is 0, which means the token copy sticks around and allows you to keep drawing more cards later on down the line. So it's scry 2, draw a card, scry 2, draw a card every single turn that this Planeswalker survives. So that's just Serum Vision on a stick. Now, if you don't see the card that you want, if you aren't getting what you need in those top 2, use the token copy to scry 2, and then you just uptick it. And then you're scrying 4 in any given turn. And so you can chuck all 4 of those to the bottom and just keep digging. So if you're playing in a combo deck, Jace Mirror Mage is awesome. Now, is it as awesome as something like Grim Tutor, where you can basically just get exactly the card you need for 3? Well, that's arguable. Because Jace is going to help you in a lot of other... I don't know. I think Jace is going to help you in a lot of other ways. It also cannot be understated. One of the values of Planeswalkers is keeping damage off of your life total. Keeping attention on the Planeswalkers rather than your face is very, very valuable. I have won a number of games because my opponent turns all of their attackers on my Planeswalkers instead of me, and it buys me an extra turn or 2. And with Jace Mirror Mage, what you get is a Planeswalker who can get you some really solid value when he first drops, and the potential for solid value in just card draw and consistency throughout the game if left unchecked. But what it's more likely going to do is pull removal from your opponent or pull focus on their attackers rather than sending it to your face. And so that shouldn't be understated. You should appreciate that because it is meaningful. So is the card amazing? No. Just like what we were saying with Nahiri, I feel like the power level is fair. This is what a fair 3-mana Planeswalker looks like. And it has Kicker. So Kicker's coming back, everybody, which in Historic might actually be significant because Dominaria had a lot of Kicker Matters cards. And so who knows? There might be some fun Historic brews as with Zendikar Rising, cards and cards from Dominaria with Kicker. I don't know. That could just be fun. Anyway, I'm intrigued by this. I think there's a lot of cool possibilities, and I'm looking forward to using Jace and Nahiri in the future. I'm looking forward to possibly catching them in my drafts. You know, that's something that is definitely going to happen when Zendikar Rising first drops, and I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, thanks so much for hanging out. I appreciate it. This has been the Overthinking MTG podcast, looking at some new cards from Zendikar Rising. Keep it tuned here for more of the spoilers. Each day we're going to be looking at one card that makes a splash throughout the spoiler season, and we're going to really do a deep dive on it and do some overthinking. So if you've enjoyed this podcast, it's available anywhere podcasts are sold or on YouTube. Thank you so much. You can also catch me on Twitch, twitch.tv/hamhawks42. Thanks so much, and I will catch you next time. And don't forget that you are a good person and you deserve to be happy.